Christine, you're all set to start? To all of our committee members back? Okay. Mr. Lenzi, you're back?
Yep.
Okay. And Mr. Keefe, you're there on the phone?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Then I will call the meeting to order at 7:45. This meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by prominently posting such notices throughout the year on the Township Bulletin Board, outside the main entrance of this building, and on the official Bethlehem Township website, as well as being published in the official township newspaper within the time frame prescribed. This meeting is also in compliance with New Jersey Assembly Bill A 3850, which was passed in mid-March of 2020, which specifies conditions to be met under current state health guidelines. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is that better, Judy?
It was better, but I couldn't help but laugh.
I moved my tripod for you. Mr.
Those who
Spencer,
are just joining won't understand, unfortunately.
Mr. Spencer, roll call, please.
New York,
Here.
Nelson,
Here,
Keith,
Yeah,
Lindsay,
Here.
Randolph,
here.
Ogrodnik.
Here.
And Mr. Decker is excused for this evening. I do have a printed report from him. I have a motion open for public comment.
I'll make that motion for public comment.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Any early public comment?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if this would be under new business or public comment. I was wondering if the township would be interested in an Easter egg hunt, possibly at Heritage Park. I know Union Township's thinking about doing one April 9th in Finn Park. And I thought maybe I'd bring it up tonight at your guys' meeting to see if it's something you guys might be interested in.
I personally, and like I asked the other committee, but I would be in great support and really appreciate you bringing that to us. I mean, we
I just
would
thought
participate.
it's been a rough couple of years and,
Yeah.
you know, we could set up guidelines and stuff, but, you know, of course, I just think it'd be good to get the people back out and, you know, we have the bunny costume and we have some eggs and with a little bit of support or help, I'm sure we could pull it off.
That'd be great. Well,
Who's wearing the
definitely-
bunny costume?
I got the bunny costume.
What about reaching out to the group that did the Christmas?
I say, Tom, we might have some people interested in helping out too, because I appreciate your offer, but I know you do so much already with the rescue squad. So I'll take your offer, but we'll also work hard to find you some help.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got my number. If not, Art can get it to you. And I think it'd be good for the community and, you know, just to get back out there, try to get back to some kind of normalcy again.
And what date would work for you?
I'm thinking the second or the third, that Saturday or Sunday in April, because they're doing the 9th and 10th in Union Township, 9th or the 10th.
Okay.
I'm hoping the 10th because we have a class on the 9th. So
Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. But yes, that weekend, we would love to do that. We'll figure out the exact date.
sounds good.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, well, seeing none, that was a great way to start the meeting. Thank you. Can I have a motion to close public comment?
Make the motion to close public comment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A motion to adopt regular and executive session minutes of January 6th, 2022. This was our reorganization meeting.
Make that motion, accept those minutes, executive and regular meeting, January 6th.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah. Can I have a motion to pay all bills in the amount of $47,380.05?
Make the motion to pay the bills.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Keith,
Yeah.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes,
Randolph,
Yes.
Muir,
Yes. A report of municipal engineer, again, Mr. Decker is excused. If you give me a second, his report has not changed since the last meeting, except he added 1111 Route 173 visited the site and issued a memo to the zoning officer regarding recent site improvements. I believe there's a stop work order as a site plan is needed. And the Blackbrook Road drainage, which Mr. Maderos brought up at the last meeting. Mr. Decker met with the DPW supervisor on February 9th to review the ponding water situation. The area is in a low spot that cannot be piped to the existing drainage structure due to the grade. DPW will install an inlet with a cross pipe, but the depth of the existing natural gas line and shoulder may be problematic. So we do intend to repair and fix that drainage area, but it's more complicated than just placing a drain there. Any questions on those items? Oh, okay. Report of public safety official, Trooper Walsh, I believe you're here with us this evening.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything specific to report. I'm just, attending the meeting to field any questions from anybody if they have anything for us or concerns.
Any questions from committee members?
I mean, I do. I don't know if this is really a state police issue or a state DPW issue. But there's always that on the top of 173 all winter long, you get that patch of ice or a couple of patches of ice going on the westbound side. And I see them trying to salt it. Is there anything what's the deal with that? Do you know? It's always there. And it's
You're talking
always,
about on Jugtown Mountain?
yeah, on Jugtown Mountain where it gets really bad. And I know I almost spin out and they try to salt and break it back up, but it always comes back. And it always seems ever since they did that culvert, that ponding there seems to be an issue. Do you know where I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I mean, that would be a DOT issue. I mean, I can ask the DOT guys at they're out
Yeah.
of the Bloomsbury DOT yard. It's on the westbound side of the mountain, you said?
Yeah, Carl seems to have an idea.
I talked to John down at the state garage and they said they're gonna try to revisit that this summer to fix
Okay.
the problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say in 2019, and then even the beginning of 2020, I had been in contact with Meredith Hammond from DOT, and I had met with some DOT engineers out there, and they took video of the water running. It wasn't freezing, but they could see the water volume. It was in the spring, I believe, or fall. It wasn't frozen yet. But then there was the pandemic hit, and their offices went out, and things happened here too. So I'm glad to hear that they're following up. But I'll check with Meredith just to make sure. But they were, before the pandemic, were aware that it was a problem. And they did have engineers out there, and I do know they videotaped the water flow so they could try to figure something out.
Great, that would be a big help.
Hey, Sarge, quick question. I know you guys are doing as good a job as you can. How are you holding up with the truck traffic? Because it seems to just be so constant and spilling over onto 173 in the back roads. Is everybody doing all right?
Yeah, I went to the union council meeting last night and, they're equally as concerned about it. I think their council is going to be in touch with your council to see if we can come to, or if we can implement a plan to try and do something about those trucks, especially in the, the area of exit 12, because, the volume of trucks there. I know that a lot of Bethlehem residents also use exit 7 and the trucks are bad down there as well. I think that I had mentioned this last meeting that the state police have been doing a targeted truck enforcement details over the course of the month of December and January. In January alone, not just out of Perryville Station, but out of this region, we issued over 700 truck tickets, and it's probably even more. It's probably close to 800, given that my information is probably like 3 weeks into January that I received that. So, we're out there, we're doing the best we can, but, it is a difficult problem to solve, but, we're out there and we're enforcing the statutes as best we can.
Trooper, also is that too, because I just met with our court administrator, and so we're at February 17th, and the understanding what was stated to me is that we're at least 600 tickets issued, majority of them for trucks at this point. So you and your troopers are definitely out there working hard in that respect. Also, I don't know if you see the effects.
I would just say.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know whether, it makes any difference, it's whether, doing the enforcement because, people are not local, but, just anecdotally, I was down in Bloomsbury last night. I had a couple of my troopers go through and clear the trucks out. I went in the Sitco to get a sandwich. I came back out and there was another truck parked there. So, there were maybe 10 or 15 trucks there. The troopers had cleared all the trucks out, and 10 minutes later there was another truck there. And I'm not saying like just saying it's a very difficult problem to solve. And I don't know what, but to the mayor's point, we have issued just hundreds of tickets, and I would just ask that the residents, if you see a problem, generally in the afternoons, when you're coming home from work or something, just call up here and we'll go down and address it as readily as we can.
So sorry, real fast.
Yep.
Oh, let me just, to add on to that, I know I've had some newer residents coming, those kind of non-emergency calls. You want them to call the Perryville barracks directly? Is there a direct number for them to call? The one number I had goes to the voice prompts, but is there one that goes direct to a dispatch there or something?
Well, you can get the dispatchers, but if you want to call right into the station, it does go into a voice prompt, but there's only like two options. You press one for the Detective Bureau, and well, maybe there's three. Maybe there's one for Detective Bureau, one for firearms, and one for the desk sergeant. So they would just.
So the residents just call that number and follow the prompts.
Yeah, it's 908-730-7042. To get a dispatcher on the phone, if they call 908-730-6100, but those dispatchers aren't in this building.
Right.
So, in the Perryville station. So, but the 730-7042 is the number right into the station. It does go to an automated prompt, but they should readily be able to get through that.
Okay.
It's not like they're going to be put into somebody's voicemail or something like that.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Sergeant, real quick, if you don't mind, Tom from the Pattenberg Rescue Squad. I know you guys are doing your best out there. I might have missed this. Is there a reason why the way station isn't open at like nighttime for them to park so they're not on the highway? Or is there something that can be done like through DOT to build a parking lot? Because I went out west and you get out like Ohio and stuff. They have huge areas parked off, like just you don't even see a truck on the side of the road because they have massive parking spots for them.
Yeah, well, as we see along both 173 and even the interstates, if you go in the rest areas down there on, going near exit 7, the reason that my understanding of the reason that the way stations aren't open at night for parking is because the truckers make a mess, and there aren't restroom facilities and whatnot. Not that there are along the interstate either, but if you go into, let's say, the eastbound rest area there, the amount of garbage that they produce and other, I don't want to get too into what it is that they leave around, but that's why those areas are closed, because they're just the thinking is they'll just destroy the place.
Yeah.
That's how it was explained to me once. That's why those areas aren't open. Would it help that they were? Probably, but literally last night when I was driving into Bloomsbury just prior to the event that I referenced earlier, along 78 there's got to be a mile worth of trucks just parked along anywhere, going all the way out to exit 6. I don't know, even if those way stations were open, would they fill up, and then you'd still have more trucks parked there? It would help, but that's again, I believe that would be, it's not us out of this barracks I will look into it and get a definitive answer as to why they don't open it, but I'm pretty sure that what I said is accurate, and that's why they don't leave it open, because, you know, they leave bottles of urine and things like that. And
No, yeah, enough
again,
said.
if you've ever been through the east or westbound rest areas, you'll see what I'm talking about. I mean, it's disgusting. So
Keep up the good work. Be safe out there. Thanks for you do.
thank you.
Any other questions from committee members or? Okay. And I was just there with the trucks. I don't know if it'll help at all, but there was a DOT alert, and I'll share this with everybody by email with the other committee members. But New Jersey is the second state, along with North Carolina, to create a traffic alert system through driveways, which is an integratable intelligent imaging system in their GPS units to alert truckers to real-time traffic situations. So I don't know if that includes some of the parking situations. Even it may, because then that's alerted as a vehicle on the side of the road. But hopefully it helps alleviate some of the issues we've been seeing as they get real-time information about the roadways. It covers 600 miles of interstate within New Jersey. It was just recently launched, so we'll see and hope that helps. Trooper Walsh, anything else that you would like to add?
I don't, no. Nope.
I appreciate your participation in each of these meetings and what you do all the time. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yep.
And this evening we have a visitor, Fred Brody of Cross River Fiber. Mr. Brody, if you wanted to share, you had submitted a resolution. We're somewhat familiar for fiber optic. If we'll have a discussion, and we understand our obligations as a municipality, so it'll be on the next meeting, but we wanted to invite you so that our residents know who is coming into town and what this entails.
Okay, very good. Want to thank you, Mayor and committee. Yeah, Fred Brody is my name, and I'm here on behalf of Cross River Fiber. Cross River Fiber is what's called a CLEC, which means a competitive local exchange carrier, kind of like, like a technical term, but it's under the telecom umbrella, if you will, of the BPU. And we provide what's called dark fiber to just the clients of the company. The dark fiber, as opposed to a lit service, your telephone and your cable providers and all, that's a lit service. The more you use, the more you pay. Where a dark fiber provider like Cross River leases the fiber, they own, operate, and maintain it, but they lease the fiber to the companies and their clients that light it themselves. So again, it's to connect their clients. It's not really for use by the residents of the town. It's just like a highway coming through, if you will. So we proactively seek these agreements in order to design the best and most cost-effective route to connect their clients around New Jersey with this redundancy. And it's a non-exclusive franchise agreement. And there's no cost to the municipality. Cross River pays for the engineer review, the attorney review, and the police safety detail once the network is ready to be put on to existing telephone poles. So again, it goes back to the fact that this is just a fiber cable, probably the size of one's thumb. There's no other equipment other than these small junction boxes that connect the fiber after a certain amount of feet. But there's no antenna. This is not small cell or 5G or a TV or anything, but like I say, like a cable that just connects around the state in order to create this redundant network. So the agreement that we seek is required by the owners of the infrastructure, the poles and conduit, if it happens to be in certain areas that have been redeveloped and there's no telephone poles, then there's conduit that allows us to put the dark fiber through that. So the agreement shows that the municipality really gives us permission to enter the right of way so a route can be designed. Again, that gives us the permission. So it's only this wire, and that's really it. That's again, we're just trying to figure out the most direct and cost-effective route to do this around the state in order to connect the clients. And the clients, by the way, are hospital systems, radiology departments, data centers, users of bandwidth, fat pipe, as they call it, and they know how to operate it themselves. But again, Cross River owns, operates, and maintains the fiber. So in case there's, God forbid, a traffic accident where the fiber comes down, they are required to replace that fiber within a 24-hour or less period of time. Any storms, what have you, because the company, for their license, they're required to provide what they call 5 nines of service. Because again, they can't afford any downtime with data centers or stock exchanges or again, radiology. So they have to replace that. If a pole does come down, the power company is required to replace that first. They have to wait, and then the telecom comes in, and then again, any road widenings or changes in the road, Cross River comes back and reattaches, the fiber, and that's basically it. I hope that explains.
Mr. Brody, what would be so if this isn't serving our residents, sounds like we're a connecting municipality. What path would you be coming through in Bethlehem?
That's what we don't know yet.
Okay.
Again, as I had said, the agreement, the owners of the telephone poles, whether it's PSC&G or I'm not sure you're incumbent, whether it's JCP&L or PSC&G and
JCP&L.
JC. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, they require this agreement in order to design the network. Once the route is designed, then we come back to the municipality and again, show it to the engineer. So the engineer understands the route, and before it's attached to the poles, the route is agreed upon. So again, we're just trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B through these towns, and lining up the agreements proactively allows us to kind of put it all on a map and put it all together.
Mr. Ogrodnik, is this subject to the same approvals as the public fiber optic that we had discussed at the last meeting?
Believe so. Yes.
Any questions from committee members?
Mr. Brody, this is no more invasive than trucks just literally going from pole to pole on the route that ends up being selected, tying in, and then they just keep moving.
Correct. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay. And in the event that there's a problem with the pole, it's an internal process for you to be notified, or is that a burden that falls to, say, a resident where they're in an affected area?
Well, they would be notified if the service went down, the client would know or whatever. But I mean, yeah, it would be something where yeah, the operation of Cross River would respond, once they find out that there was a problem.
Okay, because I know the residents sometimes are reasonably a little touchy when we're dealing with right of ways and what can and can't be done, and the way some things line up, it seems like people can end up a little further onto somebody's front lawn than they realize because of how it just maps out. So knowing how the invasiveness is or how passive it is helpful to the residents.
Right. And again, I mean, it's attached to existing, telephone poles. I mean, in other words, are you saying that some of the telephone poles are on residential property?
Well, just the way the configuration of the roads are, being in a rural area and the way they map it, sometimes you'll look at a pole and it sits back a little further, and the residents are responsible for taking care of these properties. And it's just a matter of everybody understanding that this is not going to be some crazy excavating and trenching. It's just tying in on the existing poles.
Right. That's correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Brody, I'm sorry, real fast. So I know we've had issues in the past where, say there were wires that came down, say a pole came down during the storm. JCP&L would come out, they would replace their pole, they would transfer their wires over, and then they would say, okay, you know, Comcast, CenturyLink, whoever else would come out. And we'd be waiting 2 to 3 years at times trying to reach someone to get out there. We've had several where the wires are down and multiple calls are made to those companies and back and forth and whatever communications, they're like, oh, we never got anything, and they never realized it. Is there going to be an emergency contact number either with the state police for you or the OEM that we can reach out to someone to make sure that that doesn't happen?
Yes, yes, yeah, they have this well under control. Again, because we are dealing with hospital systems and stock exchanges and data centers, they're required to get this service back up and running, you know, in less than 24 hours.
Okay.
That's part of their authority as the BP from the BPU.
Can I have a motion open to public?
Make a motion open to the public.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any questions from public on the call? I'm not seeing any. Motion to close the public.
Motion to close to the public.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Mr. Brody, I appreciate you joining us, explaining your system so that we're comfortable and our residents are comfortable. And the resolution is submitted will be on our next meeting agenda, which I believe is March 3rd.
March 3rd. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Be well, stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Under old business, we have a discussion for a revised shared service court agreement with Lebanon Borough. Can I have a motion to open discussion?
Make the motion open to discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So this was the change in this was to allow Lebanon to keep their zoning violation fees as we had discussed. So no other changes were made. So if there are any questions or concerns about that? Can I have a motion to close discussion?
Motion to close the discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Can I have a motion to adopt resolution 2022.32 to approve revised court agreement with Lebanon Borough?
Make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Randolph,
Yes.
Muir.
Yes. Motion carries. Discussion on the status of the DPW compactor and the recycling center. Could I have a motion to open this discussion?
Motion open.
I'll take Mr. Keefe's motion since he doesn't always do it. Can I have a second? Or Mr. Randolph, you want a second?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. So last year, and I'll let Carl explain more, but the gist is the electric motor for the compactor burnt out. Recycling based on commodities exchange is not profitable and could be depending on cardboard, but most likely recently has not been. And so there's a cost to doing it as a service to our resident. And there's been some discussion amongst the committee about providing this as a service to our residents. Carl, I don't know if you want to explain or add anything about the motor.
The only thing, the motor is gonna cost $2,200. Because we don't have that old motor anymore. I tried to get it back, but they don't know. They just tossed it since Waste Quip has that cut down. But the box rental is $50 a month.
Now, who were we using when we closed it, Carl?
I'm sorry, what's that?
What refuse service were we using when we closed it?
Colgate.
We were using Colgate. Okay.
Yeah. And Colgate, they're gonna charge us $50 a month rental for a 40-yarder and $325 per haul is the minimum. And it must get pulled every month.
Okay. So now, we should look at the contract, because I was on a call with Raritan Valley, which works with Colgate, and even for residential, they're looking at paying for cardboard again. The only thing that ever covered the costs of this compactor was the cardboard as a commodity. And so now sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, and Raritan Valley is looking at programs to pay for it when there is a benefit. So to say that 325 would be offset by whatever the value of the commodity is at that point. Not saying it's a guarantee, but it is something to be aware of.
Single stream, he told me last month, we had to pay, it's $23 a ton. Now, if it's just plain cardboard you're gonna put in there, yeah. it might
Well,
pay.
that's different, but they still sort to cardboard. So we should talk to them about the contract if we decide
Yeah,
to do this.
I talked to them, and that's what they told me.
Okay.
They charge
So,
$23 a ton.
so one thing we
Or
talked
whatever.
about, Carl, was you were talking about, because we were doing it twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, I think you said,
Yeah, it was
we were-
4 times a month.
4 times a month. And then we had to pay for, like, I guess you said we had to pay for overtime for one of your guys or 2 of your guys to basically be at the center, correct, on a Saturday?
Well, that's the problem now. They came to me and said, we want the Saturdays for the overtime for manning the recycling instead of the part-time.
So I've been kind of the main driver of this behind the scenes because I kind of believe, offering services for some of the taxes that the residents pay that is unique to Bethlehem Township rather than a shared services and something that we could offer that's a little different. So that's sort of been my motivation. And I've talked to all of you about this, so this isn't a surprise. We don't have to do it 4 times a month. If we wanted to do it every other Wednesday, where we don't have to pay overtime, maybe it's a little inconvenient for residents, but it's still something
But you
that could
couldn't do
offset
that.
some costs and some tonnage or whatever, but still offer a service.
You couldn't do that because the dumpster has to get full every month. And we'll never fill up a 40-yard dumpster in a month. Usually it went every 6 to 8 weeks.
So at reorganization, we appointed a recycling coordinator, it was Mr. Savaki, who had been there on Saturdays before. And so I know, so now some of our DPW staff want to have those Saturdays.
Yes.
Okay, so previously, the costs, so it's $4,500 a year or a year for the, if we do 1 dumpster a month, and then with the salary, we're about $11,000 all in each year for the cost of this. If we use our DPW employees, it's going to be a little bit higher. We're going to have to calculate that or have a discussion about that and see if we can come to an agreement. Maybe we do two Wednesdays and a Saturday. I realize, Carl, we want to fill it to get the most out of that container. But I'm
Right.
concerned about the additional labor cost now.
That's what, but either that or, you only might have maybe 3 ton in that box.
What about
That's fair.
volunteers? Where I used to live in Fanwood, every Saturday, a different, and I know we don't have as much of a population out here, but a volunteer group picked it up every, if I could remember correctly, it was the Boy Scouts one day, it was the 4-H club another day, it was the Environmental Commission another day, and they were the ones that were kind of involved in this to offset some of the costs down in Fanwood. Now they actually ended up discontinuing it too. But I'm wondering if that's not a route we couldn't explore. And I don't know if we're not going to make a decision tonight because it sounds like there'll be some follow-ups, but that's just sort of where my head is at.
You could also ask Holland Township. I know in the past they used, it was people that Mike, Mr. Gronick, you would notice, like the pretrial intervention. So they had that community service they had to do, and they had someone that was there, and they ran the recycling on the Wednesdays, or they picked the 1 or 2 days. so the DPW didn't get the full burden of it.
So,
So you might be
you
able to use them and still, to get the tonnage. So maybe you still do a Wednesday and a Saturday, and if they're available for community service, maybe they do another day to help get the tonnage.
yeah, and I know, Mr. Cordero from the sheriff's office has reached out to us about the program. So there, we haven't had opportunities, but yeah, Mr. Lasley, that's a phenomenal idea. I'm going to throw out Judy, because I know you're an advocate for this. So I pulled out the salary ordinance. Based on what we were paying our recycling coordinator, and again, we did put him in there in our reorganization as an employee. So we're going to have some discussions there too. But it's not a huge per hour cost differential. But I guess, once we get into the overtime, it does become a little more significant.
Hey, Paul, I gotta
Yes.
jump in for a minute. I did some research real quick.
Yes.
Hardly a lot of us, like 90% actually pay for garbage pickup in our town. Otherwise, you bring it to your place of work or something like that. But I called the two main carriers, LMR. Theirs is included with the price of their garbage pickup, which they gave me a quote of like $66 for their small container, and that's every 2 months. And regardless if you have recycling or not, that's the price they get. Premier, on the other hand, is a different price. I use them in my my quarterly bill's 107, but that's for every 3 months. And their recycling is included in that 107, but if you do not pick to use their recycling, they can actually take it off. In other words, it's not a bundle like LMR. So if you do not want to use Premiers, you could actually save $9.36 a quarter.
Premier
there's
was
two
bought up.
options.
Yeah, it was bought up by Raritan Valley. So I assume it's a Raritan Valley quote.
Okay. Do they service Bethlehem Township?
Yeah, so it's Raritan Valley and
Yeah.
LMR are the two that are left, and they are included. I don't disagree with that.
Republic, Paul.
Republic, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Republic, I
Raritan
talked
Valley
to
was,
everybody today. They quoted me all
Yeah.
these prices, and
Yeah.
I have my bill right in front of me, and I pay 107 a quarter.
Okay.
So
I think we all do. We've talked about that for years. I think it comes down to, is this a viable service? Do our residents really want it? Some have been pretty passionate about it. Again, it costs us a minimum of $11,000 a year. Bringing in a DPW employee at overtime on a Saturday changes things a bit, but I think the
still got to
decision
fix it
comes.
for $2,200.
Well, yeah, and that we can, as we just had our budget meeting, it doesn't change that we're spending the money, but we can put that into the capital budget.
Paul?
Yeah.
It's just me. I'm not really in favor of reopening the recycling for the cost factors. I believe me, having services that people are paying for and giving them something back, I think giving them the recycling day, the junk day is a big win. It's a massive turnout from everybody. So it's a good shot in the community. So I would rather see our focus on that, whether it's one or two, or even a mini one, or hosting one of the other things like electronics or shreddings. On the quality of life issue, just now because I go up there so often, unless it's my perception and I'm just off, it's a lot cleaner. There's not stuff hung up in the fence. There's not stuff that just inadvertently blows around when people are up there. And I think that reflects well on just even our staff showing up and it just not going through that background of occasional debris is a quality of life improvement that is in our favor.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we put in the compactors, because when we were required to have recycling, we just had open bins and it was blowing everywhere. So the compactor, one, made us money, and two was a huge factor in cleaning up the yard at the time.
Right, it helped, but not having the recycling coming up there at all, and it's just that next level of neat, clean, friendly to the space.
Any other comment or discussion about recycling? a motion to close discussion?
Make the motion to close discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to make the motion in the positive. Can I have a motion to reopen the recycling center? The compactor.
Make the
I'll make-
motion. Okay, Judy. I'll second-
I'll make the motion. You want to second it, Art?
I'll second it.
Okay, a roll call vote, please.
Keith,
No, I mean, not in favor of opening it again.
Lindsay,
Are we still gonna be discussing this for a moment? This is the final vote here. I thought we were gonna continue to discuss this.
I wasn't sure if there were some follow-ups or not. That's a good point.
Right, I thought we were gonna have some follow-up talks, maybe poll some of the residents, get an idea what they want. Maybe they do want to have an opening. Maybe we want to take that money and put that toward maybe a second waste day or something. I don't know, but there's something to do with more discussion rather than putting to a vote right now.
I would say it's there on the table, so I would suggest just following Robert's rules, then I would vote no, and then we'll discuss having a discussion after that again.
Okay, now to vote no for right now.
Nelson,
Yes.
Randolph,
No.
Ewer,
Yes. So can I have a motion to, I mean, it's interesting to poll residents. I think we've done it before. I mean, I think that would be, what other information would the community members want to know? I mean, we know what the costs are. We can figure out the increased cost of having our DPW on overtime. That changes things.
I mean, we can post something to the town website, or residents, do a poll there, or, kind of get the word out one way or another, just to get a general idea of their ideas.
Okay, Mr. Giudice, I'm gonna ask, can we put a poll on the website regarding asking people if they want recycling?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to put a poll on the website regarding recycling. I'm gonna add that we will in some manner incorporate the cost of operating it so that people have the information they need to make that decision.
I would make
Do I
that
have-
motion as you stated it.
I'll second.
Second? Okay.
Second.
Since this does not include spending, I guess there's some fee for Mr. Judy, so I'll ask for a roll call vote. It's minimal expense, but follow the rules.
Be less than $11,000.
Keith,
Yes, with the exception, we are gonna place, like Paul said, we're gonna give the amount that costs to run it, and please put in that it would cost the money to fix it too. So yes,
Correct.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Randolph,
Yes.
Ewer,
Yes. Mr. Lindsay, you can't
One other thing I would
hesitate when
just
it's
add,
your
Paul,
idea.
One other
Sorry?
thing I would just add would be, there should be, in the narrative about this that we put up, we should also suggest to people, check to see if they have recycling as a service that they're paying for right now. We didn't even realize we were paying for recycling to be picked up, and we've never looked back after just hauling it down to the bottom of our driveway instead of driving it up to the municipal building. It's just a
We can
lot
add-
easier.
We can add that with the expense so that people do know. Yeah, so these disposal carriers are required to provide residential recycling in Hunterdon County. So we can put that on there. I will share on a comical side note, pre-pandemic, because I never really used the recycling center, but I would go down there every once in a while because it was like a holiday event on Saturday mornings for the Township of Bethlehem. People who I know had recycling at their homes chose to bring it there for the social aspect of recycling. So I think that's where Judy's coming from, and I've experienced it. Maybe the pandemic broke that habit. I don't know, but I know, cleanup day is a holiday in Bethlehem, and recycling day is for a social gathering. So it's a good idea to poll residents and see what they want. So thank you, Mr. Judice, for we'll get the verbiage to you and we'll get that up. Next discussion item under all business, the quarterly contract, the CFO shared service agreement for the second quarter. We approved the first quarter. So this is a motion to open discussion.
Make a motion, open a discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Just to extend our shared service agreement for the second quarter of 2022. Any discussion or questions? Motion to close discussion.
Make motion to close the discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I have a motion to adopt resolution 2022.33 to approve quarterly contract with Lebanon Borough for CFO services for second quarter 2022.
Make the motion to accept that resolution for the CFO services.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Lenzi, okay, roll call vote, please.
Keith,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Randolph,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes. And motion carries. Thank you. The new business discussion to hold the rabies clinic on November 5th, 2022 from 12 to 1 p.m. Do I have a motion to open that discussion?
I'll make the motion open.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. Any discussion, any concerns, complaints, questions about doing this?
I'm on to help set it up. So,
Okay, I think we'll all volunteer and come together on that. I know Mr. Randolph and Baumgarten did the same.
Yep, it was very smooth. There's no cost to us. We do work well with the veterinarian, Mr. Rohrig. The county provides the vaccines for the cats and dogs to us, so we're not paying for that. It's very simple. You set up a couple tables, make sure everybody notices it. The forms get filled out pretty quickly. The doctor is out there just hitting every dog and cat around. The public loves it. They really appreciate it. Some people have traveled from the southern part of the county to come up here because it's open to everybody. It's not restricted to residents. So it is, as you said, Paul, it's kind of a nice Saturday. Usually the weather is favorable for us as well.
Last time I volunteered, as long as the person who volunteered to go pick up the vaccinations remembers to do it, it's very helpful and useful.
That is true. If you want to line me up for that one now, I will make that happen.
Sounds good. And just for the public that are on the call, and I know we record these, these rabies clinics are paid for with the license fees that you've been sending in, which are due February 28th. But the point is that they're not restricted to your town. So while this is only an hour long, we do take you as you come and make sure you get through. But all of our surrounding communities do these also, and you can go to any community based on your schedule. Okay, motion to close this discussion.
Make a motion.
I'm sorry.
No,
One
no.
quick question. Can we allow for volunteer hours, like for the Scouts, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, the students to help out there?
I
Working
would think
the
that's
tables?
that's perfectly fine. I believe. Yeah, we can.
I wasn't sure if there's any regulations for that.
No, I think that would count.
Just so you know, Mr. Mayor, the Bloomsbury's was canceled, the rabies clinic because of COVID. So
Yeah.
you might get a little influx from them.
Okay, thank you. I did reach out to Bloomsbury and offer our facilities, but it was too short of amount of time. But I did try to help out in that situation.
Just giving you a heads up in case you get an influx from them.
No, I appreciate it. All right, all in favor of the motion to close? Aye.
Motion to close.
We had the first and second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, the motion to approve the rabies clinic for November 5th, 2022.
I'll make the motion to approve the rabies clinic.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, very good. Thank you. Also under new business, introduction of ordinance 469.2022 to repeal ordinance 469.2021 and reestablish chapter 3 of the municipal code entitled administrator. Do I have a motion to introduce?
Motion to introduce.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There'll be a public hearing scheduled for March 7th, 2022. So we'll have a hearing and discussion and a roll call vote for that. The next is the discussion to simplify, modify the zoning permit application. Can I have a motion to open?
Make a motion to open.
Do I have a second? Okay. So it's in your packets. I sat with Mr. Mullen and he was sharing, he represents a few different towns. Bethlehem has multiple applications with various fees and it's confusing to residents. It's onerous. And as many of you know, and those of you who worked with me before, I'm always here to do what's best and easiest for our residents. So if you look at the first page, he would just say completed application because you no longer need different applications. It would be one application instead of different applications. And then you wouldn't need to come to the tax office to get a copy of to get a certification of taxes or a copy of your deed. So right now a resident has to come and get their certification of taxes and then bring a copy of their deed. So you need to come during business hours, then you need to go to the zoning. So we're working with, and we have preliminary approval from our tax system to allow Mr. Mullen to view the taxes. So if the taxes are not paid, he would know and then refer them, but it prevents them from having to take the time to go to the tax office. And that tax system also verifies the deed of ownership. So that simplifies that process. And if you go to the actual application, you can see this was modified from one of his other municipalities. He changes the fee structure. So our fees are 35 and 75 for residential. He suggested to average it out to $50, which is where most of them fall anyway. Leave the commercial at 125. And then he gets rid of 2 questions from this application. But again, I'm here to make things easier for our residents. It still satisfies our needs. I explained to Mr. Mullen, we like that certification of taxes because if they're not paid, it gives us a chance to collect them. But I appreciate not having to make residents run to 2 different offices.
I thank you too. When I do the generator permits, it's like a nightmare.
I saw you smile, so I think it's helpful. I don't know if there's any questions. I know, I appreciate Mr. Mullen. He took this upon himself to make these suggestions, so I appreciate that.
Paul, should we make the motion open it to the public so that Tom can make an official comment?
Yeah, I've been giving Tom a lot of latitude this evening. We can do that. If there's, we can do that. If there's other. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any public questions about modifying our zoning application to make it simpler? I am not seeing any.
Easier is better.
So I can have a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So a motion to approve the changes to our application and explanation sheet and fees. Actually, you know what? I'm going to ask for a motion in a second. We'll do a roll call vote since it includes changing fees.
Make that
So
motion, to make these changes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Steve,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Randolph,
Yes.
Muir.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And then our next discussion are the protocols and reopening of municipal building to the public. Can I have a motion to open?
Make the motion to open.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor to open this discussion? Aye.
Aye.
So to preface this, the transmission numbers keep dropping in New Jersey. I think we're down to was it 0.5% now, and we've returned back to staff meetings. And so my primary concern to start with was the ability, desire, and of course safety of our staff to do this. And at the last staff meeting, it was unanimous that the staff is prepared to reopen the building to the public. There'll be some changes as far as access goes. So our clerk has a sliding window. There'll still be some plastic to protect those in that office. Our tax collector has to change offices anyway for legal reasons based on where he's located and sharing an office with land use. So he will have a new and easily accessible window office also. We'll put in, we have more than enough sanitizer from what I understand. So we'll make sure there's some stations, masks are available, and the court that we have is the only caveat. We do have a municipal court and they are subject to the AOC regulations. So we would need to get some signage. And we're hoping to return to in public. This is not part of this vote, but we're hoping to return to public meetings again. So we'll have a sign probably on Velcro in the courtroom saying, closed. We don't want people coming in and bothering our municipal staff with court questions. So there'll be some signage, and some of those things are all dictated by the AOC, and our court administrator is aware of this decision. And we were targeting an opening date of, I believe it was March 1st. Any questions from the committee members?
I'm all in favor. It's time to get back into the people business.
Agreed.
I appreciate that.
Agreed.
Okay, so I got a motion to close.
Make the motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote to reopen the municipal building to the public with certain protections and caveats as explained, starting March 1st.
Keith,
So what does this have to say with our meetings, our public meetings like tonight? That's a different discussion.
Ours will be dependent upon, and I don't know if Mr. Giudice, ours are a separate discussion based on the technology, because I still want to give access to residents who are not comfortable coming in person. Until we have the OWL set up, we will remain virtual. Once that's set up, I would like to return to public, but this is just a vote just to open the building to the public.
Back to me.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Randolph,
Yes.
Muir,
Yes.
All right, yeah, this is just to open up and let people do their business up here.
Motion carries. Thank you. We'll make sure all protocols and safeties are in place. Next on the discussion is to approve the purchase of a new computer for animal licensing official. Can I have a motion to open?
Make the motion open.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You've heard my voice enough already through this meeting. Ms. Nelson, you've taken the lead on this. Would you like to share in this discussion?
Yeah, so our animal licensing officer, had been complaining about the computer for some time. So I ran a bunch of diagnostics on it. And I also called tech support. And we tried a bunch of things. I'm not going to get into the details on its performance. Bottom line is it's reached end of life. It's no longer supported by Dell. So if something were to happen to it, we probably do have backup tape somewhere, but it's going to crash. It's got old licenses on it. It's a 10 to 15 minute boot up every morning. And even when I was trying to do something on it, I was ready to throw it out the window personally. It's over 10 years old, and most hardware generally doesn't go past 5 years. So doing some research, we did get some quotes, but I thought the quotes from our support company, our tech support company, were high. So I did some research. We could get her a comparable. She doesn't need an upgrade in terms of, we don't need anything fancy for what she needs, just basic office, basic computer, computer, and a little bit faster in terms of speed. So it's not taking, I know this may sound short, but 90 seconds to 2 minutes for page flips and a 15-minute boot up sequence. Believe it or not, that may not sound like a lot, but that is a lot. So it'll probably be somewhere between $500, $600 for a new machine. Bare bones, pretty much. Dell, maybe nothing fancy.
And where do these funds come from?
This would be coming out of the animal funds. This doesn't come out of the budget. This comes out of the animal licensing.
Okay. Any questions?
Judy,
And I
we-
did speak, one last thing, I'm sorry, Art, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm bad that way. Jen did say that that the funds are going to be sufficient to cover it. I did that due diligence.
Okay, is it gonna be laptop, or are we leaning towards the more traditional keyboard, monitor, and
Desktop.
a standalone tower?
It would probably be just the standalone tower, just a newer version of what she has now. I don't think she needs a laptop.
How about
She's
like one of
only
those
in one day.
all-in-ones?
Hmm?
How about like one of those all-in-one computers, where it's the big monitor and everything's built into the monitor itself?
Yeah, I actually worked on one of those in one of my
Yeah.
former jobs. They're a little bit overrated, if you ask me. It is something that we could consider, but they are a bit of, they are a bit of a pain, but I could certainly consider that. Thanks, Paul.
I'm gonna defer to you because you taught me about macros, so.
Yeah, macros, very important. Just saying.
So
Judy
Judy,
also told me it's not normal to be able to get a cup of coffee while my computer boots up.
No, you shouldn't be able to eat your breakfast and still come back to your computer. So yeah, like I said, it doesn't hit the regular budget. It is already appropriated in other funds that are already covered. So I thought it was to help her out. I thought it would be a good purchase.
No.
do you have a maximum proposal that, I mean, this is a vote for tonight, because we shouldn't be wasting our time. If we know we need it, funds are available, just what's the window, and then who's gonna make the purchase, the setup, the onboarding the information, transfer anything from the old computer?
MSI would handle the transfer of data from the old to the new. I mean, you can, I understand where you're going. I'm not going to get into the specifics of how that works. And basically you already, most new Dells, if it's, I'm just using Dell as something we would go with, already would come loaded with basic Office, and all you do is you get the licensing code. And then you load the licensing code right in from your package of, comes in the box basically, and you pull it out and you get your licensing code, and then you just download everything. And then MSI can handle the data transfer from the old to the new.
All right, so the licensing stuff, the Windows program, that's not something that, say, the town has for any of the computers that it's got. Every one of them is actually independently licensed. I mean,
Well,
I just don't want to leave you short if there's the cost of the item itself, but then you have a couple of software issues that also have to be included in that final price that you're going to spend to get the right stuff for her.
correct. So Office, the new licensing would come with the PC, but there would be one other program that we would just, again, it would be we already pay for it. Her little licensing, I don't know what it's called. It's a customized program for what she does. But that would just be transferred over because we already pay for that.
Cool. So you have a number for us that
Not to exceed number, and we'll make that
A
resolution.
not to exceed number would be
not
750,
to exceed?
not to exceed 750.
So we have a motion to, motion to close the discussion.
Motion to close discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Can I have a motion to purchase a new computer for animal licensing through the animal licensing budget or license account not to exceed $750?
I'll make that motion and not exceed $750 for the animal licensing computer.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Steve,
Yes.
Lindsay,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes,
Randolph,
Yes.
Muir.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. And our last discussion item and possible, well, actually second last discussion item and vote is to approve the upgrade of municipal alarm system through Fox Brothers Alarm. I can have a motion to open this discussion.
Make a motion open.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Ms. Nelson, I'm going to turn this over to you again. Also, this was an issue that was brought to our attention after the installation of the voice over IP in our alarm system. And you have been in contact with Fox Brothers, so I'll let you take the lead on this.
correct. And the committee has the proposal in front of them. There was two. This is a holdover from last year. It was the last piece of the VoIP installation, which ran into some issues. Also some, I guess, some hardware issues on our part up at the building. And so right now we are not in code when it comes to the fire alarm for the building itself. I don't even believe it's gonna ring anywhere to any to the fire companies right now. So we're a little bit out of code for that. So this last piece of that installation from last year does have to take place. There's the cheaper version where we actually don't go through our VoIP system. It merely uses cell service to contact the fire companies and sound the alarm that way. That is the cheaper. Of course, it does depend on the quality of cell service up at that building. I do believe Verizon up there gets decent coverage. AT&T was spotty, and those were the two options that we had. The second one, which is the most expensive, but obviously more reliable, and comes with a backup and comes with more support, would be that last piece of the VoIP system itself to dial into the fire companies. So it would be up to us as to which one we would want to spend. And what level of risk, I guess, we are willing to incur in terms of the system performing the way it should be.
I'm willing to accept any risk. Yes, Mr. Judas.
The question, Judy, that I would just ask is does the phone system go down when there's a power outage?
The VoIP system, we have a generator up at the building. So technically, no, it shouldn't. Now, there are two old world copper lines still running to that building. However, from what I understand, the performance on those copper lines, as you know, the phone companies are not maintaining those lines anymore, and they're basically cutting them off. Performance on those has deteriorated to the point where I was informed by the phone companies that they really are no longer usable. And that's what you would generally rely on in a power outage, would be your old world landlines. Technically, no, we shouldn't go down in a power outage. The generator should kick in and everything should kick over as normal. So that would be
Phone
hopefully not a
supplier
concern.
who is the actual phone supplier? Because if it's, for example, Comcast, when their network goes down, when the power goes down, their network goes down. What I'm saying is cellular might be your better option. It might be cheaper and more reliable. Might be your better choice.
Which I would.
This
ahead.
one says it is cellular, replacing with the
Yeah, well, like I
cellular.
say, I think Lou, I think we have the VoIP system. The cellular is the mid-level, and then this NAPCO Starlink is the ultimate system that we don't have to worry about at all. Because I think we still have I still have some concerns about cell service in that building.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have Verizon. I've never had an issue in that building. Art, you've spent a lot of time up there. I would even defer to Steve, who's on there. Have you had issues up there?
I get T-Mobile. If I keep my phone updated, it generally works, but I find all over town, especially since I get to ride all over town with the rescue squad, there's times where just everything crashes. But what I'm just looking at this, so I don't know if we get rid of those two phone lines, because they're on their way out, but I'm assuming we're still paying for them. So
Correct.
What would that number be to just help understand this? But then I'm also looking at the idea, we're talking about an upgrade of old stuff with some new stuff. Is it worth taking the extra step to actually get other quotes of a new system entirely? So at least we know what our realities are between patching a half old and then adding some new technology to make the existing system work? Or is it cost effective, because we're talking about monthly fees anyway, generally paying for the hardware and so forth, where, yeah, we have a monthly cost no matter what. It's jumping from 39 to 85 with some hard expenses already. I know time is of the essence in a failed system. There's the jeopardy to the staff that we can't dance around with this. But are we missing an opportunity to say, bring the building completely up to par with the latest technologies from the panel all the way through to the transmission of a signal. So we have a well-rounded presentation. This may still be the best thing, but there's quality companies around. I know it's a competitive field from what I've seen just on the residential aspect of it. Maybe there is something out there that we should at least be aware of before we say, okay, this is still the best deal on the table.
Well, how old is the panel that's there? Because like I say, I've done this recently at another commercial site and similar. So it's not, it's close to being apples to apples. And that panel is about $5,600 to $5,800 plus the cost of this, and your monthly would still be the same. But it's not worth it unless that panel is I don't know how old the fire panel is, the alarm panel that's there.
Right, that's why I say if we're gonna take these state-of-the-art components, what exactly do we have? Are we just still patching that leaky boat, or this system really is set up ultimately that some other parts are not gonna work? We're not escaping that expense. Not that I want another, I don't want another expense. But simply you're doing the work, Judy, to deal with this, but getting a couple of fair quotes on, well, what would a brand new system go that the staff would have their security and their safety, plus the well-being, the stuff in the building. It's no joke that there's serious, important documentation and things relevant to the citizens that we're trying to protect as well. Can we go that extra step for specific quotes, just so we know where we're at?
I could certainly, I do know of another company that could, I had reached out to them earlier, the company that actually wired my building that I own out in.
Okay.
I could reach out to them. I could ask Fox Brothers, who did this quote. Now, I don't know, Art, were you involved with this last year? When I was involved a little bit last year with when this all came down, when we upgraded the phone systems and stuff. Was this looked at all last year?
As I recall, it was looked at, and we fixed the bigger problem because the phone system was so antiquated. It was older than the dirt that was in the ground the building sits on. So we bit off what we could chew. And fortunately, now we're down to these last pieces. So as I recall, the phone system was so bad, and that became the lion's share, and the alarm system was still compatible, it would still work. But now it's revealed that these old landlines are just dying, and also if they're not being maintained, it wouldn't matter what we're doing. Eventually, the system's got to be upgraded in some form, whether it's new or what we're talking about here, parts replacement.
Can I have a motion to open the public?
Make a motion open to the public.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Lasney?
Sorry. Sawyer's is down on 173 and they do fire alarm and phone systems. I know they came out to the squad building. I've done some work with them too. Tom Callahan, he does a lot of work in Alexander Township, building there. The other thing is with the generator, I forget, is that generator that's behind the DPW, does that do anything with the phone system, or is that just, I forget if that's a whole building or not.
It's whole building for the DPW and community center, and it powers heat, hallway lights, and phone systems in the municipal building. It's partial in the municipal building.
So the generator does work then, Paul, for that? Okay.
Yeah, we'll double check since the new, I haven't checked the new phones to work in there, but it should be on that panel to power those.
All right,
double
I'll
check.
reach out. I guess so we're tabling this then, right? I guess we're not voting on this tonight, and I'll reach out and do some further research.
I would appreciate that, Judy. I'll help you with it if that's something that you
Yeah.
want to team up on.
I'd love to. Yeah,
Listen, good.
yep.
Can I have a motion to close the discussion?
Make the motion to close the discussion.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Then no vote is needed at this time. We'll do some further research. Ms. Nelson, thank you for the research and the work you've already put into this. So I appreciate that. And last discussion and probably vote under new is to approve the application for the .gov domain. I'm asking for Mr. Giudice if you'd like to explain, but I'm more comfortable with this. I've always been uncomfortable with our BethlehemNJ.org that makes us look like some sort of community group. I think it may be a requirement at this point, but there's some advantages having a .gov domain. Mr. Giudice, would you like to share?
Yeah, I'm
Actually,
just trying to
accept-
sort of
yeah.
come to do this. We're being pushed by what essentially is the New Jersey Homeland Security for cyber attacks group to move all municipal websites, all municipal email, essentially everything related to municipal government, as well as county government and state government, to the .gov domain, to .gov top level domain. So to do this for Bethlehem Township, it's a relatively easy technical process. It's not going to really impact anyone over the course of the next, 6 months or so. We'll gradually ease it into existence. We believe we can get the same root domain name, Bethlehem NJ, except it would become BethlehemNJ.gov instead of BethlehemNJ.org as our domain name. And we leave the .org in place, probably forever, because quite frankly, that's kind of like a good way for people to start hacking in and trying to confuse people into going to the wrong site. So .org would work forever, but .gov would be the official way of denoting our website, our email, and any other e-government programs that we decide to launch going forward.
Thank you for the explanation. A motion open for discussion.
Motion open to discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any further discussion or questions from the committee members?
Lou, sounds like a no-brainer from a strategic perspective. Just since we're all budget oriented tonight, their domain costs, I'm assuming, are because it's .gov and it's a government agency. Are there any rules, special attachments to the use of it?
This is the best part, Art. .gov domains used to be more expensive than commercial domains. However, the responsibility for managing the .gov top-level domain was switched over to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And since there's a sense that using the .gov domain builds trust among people, in this day and age where you really can't be confident what you're going to when you're doing almost anything on the internet, Homeland Security, U.S. Homeland Security decided to make this free for counties, municipalities, and states going forward. So at this point in time, it's free. 2-3 years in the future, when things change, they might decide to start charging $50 a year or $1 million a year or something for it. But I tend to doubt it. Once something's been free, people are going to want it to stay free.
Okay, it meets your criteria, Lucas. This is your zone. So it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good idea. We've done it. We're doing the sites, the municipal sites that we manage. We're pushing people to do it, and they're doing it too. So I think it's a good move for Bethlehem to do it moving forward.
I'm not really serious. I'm saying a lighter note. What does it do for our SEO? Because we used to have a lighthearted competition with Bethlehem Township, Pennsylvania. So the city, of course, always draws more attention. But for a while there, the Bethlehem NJ got more visits than the Bethlehem Township, Pennsylvania website.
Well, the one I'm curious about is Bloomsbury, because we just submitted the application. We just submitted the paperwork for Bloomsbury, but I'm curious to see if Bloomsbury is able to get bloomsbury.gov or if they push us to something like bloomsburynj.gov.
Interesting.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
We'll see. Okay, motion to close discussion.
Make a motion to close discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I can have a motion to migrate to the .gov domain.
Make a motion to migrate to the .gov domain.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. A report of Township Attorney, Mr. Ogodny.
Good evening. So I have two cases that I want to update the the township on. The first one is some litigation that was filed by Mr. Caldwell on January 5th, 2022. They sought a motion in the Chancery Division of the Superior Court to have a judge look at some of the scope of some of the development activities that are permitted on an agricultural subdivided lot. We did reach a resolution, no payment of any funds, which essentially is consistent with our ordinance regarding the Right to Farm Act. And we indicated that it's the township's position that the owner of the subject properties may construct agricultural and accessory buildings consistent with the applicable laws and ordinances. However, no residential dwellings may be constructed without the benefit of the land use approvals, and any accessory structures will require building and zoning permits. So we filed a settlement agreement that memorialized that language on February 8th, 2022. The other more interesting case we have is ADS Environmental, the Manini concrete plant. We did have an assignment from the assignment judge in the appellate division, Orlando, and he has scheduled oral argument in Trenton on March 22nd, 22 at 11:45 p.m. It's open to the public. It's on the 5th floor. And that will be a three panels of appellate judges that will look at the arguments that were made both by Kara Kaczynski sitting as the board attorney, as well as our office, and as well as counsel for ADS Environmental. Some pretty interesting issues raised by that regarding the abandonment of some pre-existing non-conforming uses, regarding expansions of non-conforming uses. So there's a lot of legal issues raised. So I will report how that went, and we do expect a decision from the appellate division probably more towards the end of the year. So that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. O'Godman? Okay. Report of DPW. Mr. Keefe or Carl?
Okay, 11 events of snow plowing or salting the roads, equipment repair and maintenance on trucks and snow plows, cold patching holes on various roads, blew off walking trail with debris blower to see if it would work so people can walk in the winter, and it did so. So we plan on continuing this procedure on the next available day that we have time to do so. Open up catch basins after a storm for the water to run into. The report.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, Mr. Keefe.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Much more
I
is
just-
done, but this is what he writes. You know, they're always
that's a lot
busy
of
if they're
work.
taking care of all the equipment.
It's a lot of work. It's reported in a short amount of time, but it's a lot of work.
Right, exactly. But if you go up there and you see these guys scrambling around all the time, you get a sense of what they do all day long.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Keefe? No? Okay. Report of animal control official. There's a paper report that was emailed. Does anybody have any desire to have it read? If not, we'll move on. Okay. Report of health and safety coordinator, Mr. Lindsay.
Nothing to report at this time, as we're going to open the building now, and I plan on having a safety committee meeting and start doing the safety inspections of the building and the property. Hope to get a little advice or insight as to how they went in the past. I see also Mr. Randolph checked up on some of the defib units and got those pads taken care of in order. Thank you, sir. And that's it.
Sounds good. If you would like, I'll be happy to join you. I was the former safety committee chair when it was still functioning, so I'll be happy to join you at least for the first meeting. Report of the finance coordinator, Ms. Nelson.
Well, I think we covered everything tonight regarding the finance.
Do you
Been
want
pretty much
to,
all about that.
for those who, we had a budget meeting at 6 o'clock. I don't know if you want to just give a short kind of synopsis of the budget meeting, since there's some new residents on here. Some people may just watch this recording and not the budget recording.
So tonight at 6, we went through the budget page by page. It's the first of 2 meetings. Tonight was basically just to uncover where the revenue was coming, what we could cut out, and we went through it in detail. Discussions were had. There'll be a second follow-up meeting, which will basically finalize the budget, and then we vote on it. We vote on it the following meeting, correct? We don't vote on it the 17th
So,
of
no.
March. Right.
It'll be introduced and there'll be a hearing. It's similar to an ordinance.
Right. So looks pretty good this year. It's tight as usual. But we will still be paying down some debt. We'll be cutting where we can cut. We also had the discussion early on tonight about the recycling center, if we could get that back into the budget. We'll see. And that's pretty much it right now.
Thank you. I'm the alternate, so I'm just going to add, I want to thank Ms. Nelson for helping our new tax collector, Mr. Lapourier, to get started. He's doing a good job. He was left with a lot of problems. Our auditor even jumped in. There were a lot of problems from the end of 2021. And Mr. Lapourier really jumped in, and along with Jen, our CFO, and like I said, our auditor came in to just make sure that everything was above board from the end of 2021. But we're up to date as of now. So I know some residents have called, some have called me, and some have called Mr. Lapourier. Checks are usually deposited much quicker, but we had to get caught up. So we closed out 2021 in a day and a half and got the online system back up within the first week that he was there. And now we're all caught up to date at this point. So any checks that come in going forward, and Mr. Lapourier is working on his communications now that he's caught up. And he shared with me that we're at a 98.57% collection rate on our taxes for this quarter, which is pretty solid. But again, Ms. Nelson's taking the lead on that and gotten him up to speed and squared away. So thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Mhm.
Okay. A report of land use coordinator, again, Ms. Nelson.
I'm sorry, which one am I doing now?
Land use.
Oh, land use,
coordinator.
okay. So the meeting was canceled on Monday, but one thing is going to come around. We are going to, once again, see what's going to go on with the tree ordinance. There has been some discussion about whether it's ready to come to the committee. That thing's been floating around, from what I understand, even before I was on the board, long time ago, probably even before I moved into town. So we're going to try and wrap that up, see where it stands. There's been some discussion as to whether it's ready to come to the committee, and we'll see if it needs further discussion or whether we can just finally adopt it. I know that there's some grant money available. Hopefully we could get some grant money available at the time of adoption. And that's where we stand. That's land use right now. Nothing else that I've heard.
Thank you. A report of governing body members, Mr. Lenzi.
Nothing to report today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Keefe,
I also have nothing to report tonight.
Mr. Randolph.
I got a couple of things. One of the things I really appreciate is how much our municipal clerk puts out information that come from the various organizations. It can get overwhelming, but a couple of things I picked up on for us to at least consider. Our state Senate is looking at the S330 to restore the energy tax receipts. I don't think the public realizes that with their utility bills, the money was supposed to go to the local towns to offset some of the property costs, but the state's necessity for paying the bills as well, they were able to divert that money to the state coffers, and that leaves us having the challenges we spent so much time on tonight and pretty much talk about all the time. So I'd just like everybody to bring that resolution up on their screens at their convenience. Again, Chris puts it out, or I can have Chris resend it. And let's give it some serious consideration, because it's asking the municipalities to support the state governing body to return those funds to the town through the resolution and law process. So if you want to just put that one on a table to consider. Paul, I know you do the League of Municipalities, so they have
You
any
say,
comments on that?
Yeah, I'll probably see this again. Unfortunately, we've been fighting this battle for over 10 years, if not longer, to get, as soon as they instituted this, then they took it away, I think 5 years later. I'm the chair of the Intermunicipal Affairs Legislative Committee for the League of Municipalities. And so that's any legislation that would impact municipalities. A group of us review that, make comments, send back to the Senate and Assembly. And this would be one of the ones that we would be reviewing. So I'm sure I will see this. Our first meeting is, I just got the notifications coming up pretty soon. So we meet 6 times a year.
Cool, so I'm glad I brought it on the table and we're on the
Thank
same page. Yeah, I appreciate all the stuff that comes out. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Second thing I noticed, and again, we're trying to inform the public as best we can. I know from our squad experience, Tom can validate this, we're encountering a lot of people who are under tremendous pressure just because we might be returning to some form of normal with human contact. The damage, the wear and tear, the state of mind of people has really become fragile. And then you throw on top of that where somebody's about to lose their home after they've lost their job, they've lost any sense of security or belief that they can have a decent life. And then there's a process coming along to take their home. So I saw another thing that Chris had put out was eviction prevention outreach, social media messaging. There's programs that are available through, I'm assuming, the state. And again, look for this thing and maybe for the next meeting, if it meets everybody's approval, as far as we want to make sure it's the right information we're sharing, that we put this on the website and make people aware of these resources that on their own they might not find, but browsing our website that Lou does so much good work on, the folks that wouldn't talk about facing eviction would still be able to go and get this information and maybe pull a few people back from the edge. So again, that was from all the emails that Chris had, so I'm sure you all have it. Just go looking for it. The last one, I know we had the vote on rekeying the community center, and I understand the reasons for it, but trying to think creatively because of the budget issue, I thought about, well, what technologies are out there to get away from the keys and still give us the stuff. So I did ask Chris to put out just as some samples, commercial quality coded deadbolts. Now, I know one of the problems is the current locks, the fancy keys that are very custom. Over the years, we've been pretty generous about handing them out, and certainly there was no reason not to do that, but it's created a little bit of a problem now, which is the whole purpose for rekeying it. And I was thinking, when I looked at the quote, that we're talking about, I don't know, what, $1,000 or more? $1,030 is the quote to rekey the building. So you're talking at least 3 doors, and then you're talking maybe a half dozen keys to have. Why not look at some other options? And when I saw that you can have these coded deadbolts, well, that negates anybody having a key to get in, because now there's 2 points that they have to open. They seem pretty diverse, where you can have specific codes for specific people. So we're not going to deny, say, the scouts use the building. We can provide a code to them. And then when they're done, void that code out. So it's not something there. And instead of it being $1,000, we're talking about $300. And that's just random searches on quality products. So I just wanted to see that these were references, not suggestions. And then the work is in-house on the DPW. They're independent of a power source. They're working off of batteries. So we don't have to worry about a power failure and the locks opening up or being allowed. 2 points of security on the doors. And we don't have to worry about losing keys or making keys or having any great expenses. Again, let's move into the rest of the modern year on this stuff. So I just wanted to put that as a consideration. I know we had a vote already, so we've got the quote on what the job is, and if that's where the committee goes. But before we actually write the check, consideration.
Yeah, thank you. I did see the email. Appreciate it.
Okay, perfect. And that's all I got. A good
Thank
job
you.
on the budget workshop. That was really interesting and pretty smooth.
Thank you. Ms. Nelson?
The only thing I guess I haven't talked about tonight would be a revival of the, I guess, for lack of a better word, the zombie properties in town. I understand there's between 15 and 20 properties, maybe, could be more or less, give or take, where the township may stand to foreclose or go on sheriff's sale to gain some money there. Mr. Ogrodnik, I believe that's been transferred over to you.
Yeah, we need to make a decision property by property, if it makes sense to do an in rem tax certificate foreclosure.
Mhm.
They take about a year. You got to notify everyone in their heirs to these properties. That's kind of the cost is the title search on these. But you really want to maybe have Tom take a look at it and just see if it's worth it. Because if it's a non-buildable lot that has no frontage, I'm not sure it's worth the time, effort, and energy to foreclose them. But some of the lots that do perhaps have value for resale, I think depending on the amount of arrearages, that makes sense. Once you file the in rem tax certificate foreclosure complaint, the judge sitting in the foreclosure unit will issue an order for a 2-year right of redemption, which allows an additional 2 years, probably 2.5 years from as we sit here today, for the taxpayer or the heir to come step forward and pay the remainder of the taxes. So I would suggest that Tom look at that and also maybe look at Paper Streets while we're on that topic last month.
Okay, so next steps are to call Tom. Is that what I'm
Yeah, I
hearing?
think he's the best one to just you guys may just as easily kind of, with local knowledge, know if it makes sense or doesn't make sense to pursue an MREM tax certificate foreclosure.
Maybe we should take a look at them first, Judy, on the tax map to start.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay. We can do that this coming week then.
Okay,
But I do think there's a lot of value there eventually for us. Yeah. Anything else?
now I'm good.
Report of mayor. I attended the county solid waste advisory committee meeting. Not much going on in Hunter County. It was supposedly their reorganization meeting. Their executive board is the same as last year. We did municipal updates, but no action was taken at that committee meeting. I'm excited. Our environmental commission, I've always been a proponent and proud of the environmental commission here in Bethlehem Township. So we have 2 new members that joined, and they had their first meeting of the year via Zoom this past week. I attended for the majority of the meeting, and it was good to see they have some great ideas. They also discussed the tree ordinance. I believe they're in support of it as is, and will make their recommendation to the planning board. They're looking at creating a Facebook page to cover environmental awareness, which would be a nice addition to our outreach as a municipality. And it's a reinvigorated committee. So I'm looking forward to what they have and what they're going to bring to us throughout the rest of the year. 2 JCP&L issues. One, this evening, I don't know how bad it's really supposed to be, but it's supposed to be a windstorm. So we've already gotten our notification. We have a new JCP&L rep that some of you met back in the January meeting, and she was right there sending text information that they have crews on standby. Remember to call JCP&L first if you have a power outage, and then but they are on alert and they're aware, and Mr. Lindsay will be the first point of contact to reach out to them for major outages. The second thing is it's not just Bethlehem, but JCP&L, some of you may have received some emails regarding your electric bill. JCP&L, through most of the pandemic, often did estimated bills, and now they're returning and doing actual meter readings. And so it's 2 years worth of actual meter readings, and they're going to go back and audit all the bills. So some of our residents may not even receive a bill this month. You may get a bill next month, and most likely it will be best described as outrageous. So JCP&L has offered payment plans, and I've offered, if you have any issues when you get that bill, making payment arrangements, I'm here to advocate for you. Please just reach out direct, and I will work with our JCP&L representatives. But just to be aware that it's not going to be, look at the bill, because it won't be your consistent bill. These are adjusted bills that are generating, so it'll be a one-time only large bill. My last thing that I was hoping to talk about as a discussion item, but under my report, is we've gone through 2 years through the pandemic. We've been separated. I've always been a big proponent of building community within Bethlehem Township. We're a rural community, but we work to build connections. So I would like to get our volunteers back and engaged and get our volunteer organizations some support. We also have a lot of new residents that have joined us in the past 2 years from various regions and may not know what's available to get involved in here in Bethlehem Township. So I'm asking for support. And so I'm going to say, if there's any opposition, let me know. I'd like to host a volunteer fair. Right now, I'm targeting May 14th. It's a Saturday at Heritage Park in the Pavilion. I've already spoken to minimal, but a few of the first responding agencies. But this would be Girl Scouts, BSA, Cub Scouts, our PTA, Education Association, Muscatine Watershed Association. We're throwing out. We have a variety of volunteer organizations, our Historic Society, and we'll figure out some way to maybe we'll have some food down there and entice people to come out and see what's available, so you can get involved in your community. Hopefully, pull a few volunteers in for these organizations. Any opposition to that?
Sounds good. I can tell you, I need a break by having a few extra people filling in.
Yeah, no, I know. I think a lot of it's, like I said, I think it's just awareness is getting people back. It's a issue. I do a lot with nonprofits, not just from the Red Mill, but I'm the chair of the not-for-profit roundtable for the Mars Chamber. So that's 111. So it's a pretty good sample group, and we're all struggling with volunteers. So it's not just rural communities here in Hunterdon County and Bethlehem. So if we can give it opportunity, and again, I see an opportunity in a lot of our newer residents so that they can become aware of what's out there. And we've all been isolated for 2 years. So I'll start working on that. And if anybody's interested in helping out, just let me know.
You can add me to that list, Paul. I'll help out.
Okay, thank you.
I'm in.
All right, thank you. Excellent. Well, I'll set something up and get together and talk about it. And we'll start with a list of known volunteer groups and start inviting people. That's it for my report. Are there any questions for me? No. Okay. Can I have a motion for public comment?
Make the motion, open a public comment.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Lasney?
Yeah, have you got a chance to meet with Braden about the tower yet?
Yeah, actually, I did. So it's a good question. So I met with Braden last week, and we're going to go through. I'm going to say some public information and education is the best way I'm going to share. So they did come out to the DPW. They decided to table it, but they had been out to the DPW yard. The tower would have to be minimum 300 feet, and it still had less reception than if it were in the park, unfortunately, or the preserve. I want to call it a park. So I asked Mr. Fahey to send me that report so that we can share with our residents that this is the reality that we face. And then two, the county did do an environmental impact study for the preserve. So I'll be happy to share both. And I hadn't seen them yet, so I'll follow up, but it may have been, we've been focusing so much on the budget. When I skim through my emails, I look for budget updates and I'll go back and see if he sent me something, but most likely we're going to have to do that in the park area there, and their funding is there. And I think we can, work with the county to put it up. It would be what was proposed, 199. So there's no flashing light, no cellular service on it, just the radios for emergency services.
Okay, thank you.
We'll progress as best we can. I know some residents have environmental concerns. This is something like I said, we've been invigorated environmental commission, but I think we need to look also what the impact is to the community. So I would at this point be supporting going forward with this, but I'd like to see those reports and we'll share those as we get them.
Appreciate it. Thanks for your help.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Gies?
Yeah, just one small point about the Environmental Commission and a Facebook page. That's great, but if there's information that they need to publish, essentially to publish and to be available for anyone to easily find quickly, it really needs to be on the website. And we're open at any time they want to send stuff over, we're happy to put it up, redesign their page, whatever they need, we're happy to help them.
Excellent. I will remind them that maybe we can create maybe a little landing page or a drop down page for them because I'm hoping that, like I said, they'll be a little more active now.
Yeah, and we'll be doing that for the emergency services.
I did see, I want to thank you. If anybody has not seen our website, there's a pop up that started for emergency services. We're going to be adding more to that as we get content to put in there.
And I had a conversation with Rick Allen when we were dropping one of our vehicles off a couple of days ago about getting a photo shoot of various departments' equipment. We need to do this with the state police and with the EMS squads as well. So we'll be setting this up as time goes on here.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
And actually, Lou, where myself and Paul are supposed to meet with the fire departments and rescue squads in March when Rick gets back. So we may be able to really move that content and what they're looking to accomplish to help grow the organizations and serve the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Not seeing any. Can I have a motion to close?
Make a motion to close public comment.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to enter executive session to discuss a personnel issue? No action